Indiana Wesleyan makes it to the quarterfinals last season, and Indiana Wesleyan is loaded back up for another run despite the loss of Javen Buchanan. We've got Greg Tonagel. We're going to talk Wildcat basketball. Cascade Hoops Talk starts right now. Hey, today we have Greg Tonagel. Of course, he's the head men's basketball coach at Indiana Wesleyan. As most of you know, during the offseason, one of the top young players in the country, Javen Buchanan, he transferred to a D1 school. But Greg Tonagel, he went out there and he's got some transfers. He gets Luke Brown back, who played at Stetson, who missed last season. And they seem to be loaded up and ready for another run. But Coach Tonagel's going to talk about his team, talk a little bit about last season. Why don't we listen to Greg Tonagel, head men's basketball coach, Indiana Wesleyan. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I got Greg Tonagel on the phone. He's the head men's basketball coach at Indiana Wesleyan. How you doing, Coach?
I'm pretty good, Billy. It's good to talk to you. It's always the beginning of season, or at least it's right around the corner when you start calling me.
Yeah, boy, we're going to talk about your schedule in a few minutes, but you always start off with that WAC challenge, and that's one of the premier early season events in the country. I want to just look back slightly before we move forward. I thought last year was one of your better years. You were 18-1 at home, which is what everybody wants to do, protect the home court. You had a huge win over Columbia. You and I talked about that in Kansas City, but boy, I really overlooked that AMC conference. I talked to Coach Sam Conkey the other day out of Central Baptist. That conference really outperformed some expectations, and I think they opened some. And then you beat Arizona Christian, which was a big win in the first round at Kansas City, and then you fell to that Langston team. That was a brutal game, boy. Offensively shut you down. But as you look back to last season, what were some of the things you were most proud of, and what were some of the learnings you came out of it with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 2 weeks prior to we lose Luke Brown, who at the time, is one of the premier guards in our league and potentially our leading scorer. And my mind goes to a bad place, like, well, there goes Steve. But, you just got to move forward. We kind of reinvented what we were going to do because a lot of what we were going to do offensively had to change. Javen emerges, Javen Buchanan and Childress. I thought our guys did pretty well. I mean, we were a top 10 team all year long, playing in the rugged Crossroads League. And we had some big wins. And you get to that postseason and anything can happen. Talk about that Columbia game, like they probably should have won it. I was actually talking to Coach Brock the other day. They played a heck of a game. If we're not hosting that, we're probably losing that. But we squeak by it, and then we win the next one, and then we go out to Kansas City and play Arizona, powerhouse NAIA team. But I think what prepared us for all that was our schedule. We just play a lot of good teams early, and then you play them in the Crossroads League, and then by the time you get to the national tournament, you've seen a lot of that. So the preparation, at least mentally, is not that difficult.
Just one more awkward question. In that Langston game, you're a team that all year long you scored 90 points a game. You had a really strong offense, despite losing Luke Brown, and they held you to, just 18 field goals. I'm not asking what went wrong, but what did you walk away learning from that?
They were very good, obviously. Yeah. Very good defensively, very physical. I mean, our front line was basically sophomore, freshman, Javen Buchanan, Caden Bontrager, and you're going up against some grown men. And they just weren't quite ready. That was a good team. And so we walked away just saying, hey, another year of growth, we'll get there. Obviously, things changed with Javen leaving, but, you got to nod your head. I mean, I know they didn't win it all, but there's no reason why they shouldn't have won the whole thing. They were good. They were talented. And we would have had to play our best game, and I think the way they played defensively had a lot.
You talked about Luke Brown. You get him back this year. He ended up having to take the red shirt. He had you and I talked about him last year, but he had a great year what he played 2 seasons at Stetson, or I don't remember now, but he really lit it up there. He's a guy you probably expect quite a bit from in the offensive side.
Yeah, I think that was the piece we were missing last year on the perimeter. We just didn't have depth on the perimeter. That's what Luke can bring us when he's healthy. more than anything, he's just got a will to win. The kid is an absolute competitor. He's a fighter, and those are the types of kids you want to build your program around. And so his scoring ability is kind of what everybody sees outside. When you have that will to spreads, he raises the level, and that's what.
So let's just take a look at the team you have coming back, and then I want to talk a little about the Crossroads League. You got a couple seniors. I think just two seniors coming back. You got Griffin Cleaver, who's really from the outside looks like kind of a glue guy for you, and then Kyle Sanders, a 6'1" guy out of Kokomo. Those guys, Cleaver played a ton of minutes last year, 15 minutes a game, but Sanders, he played about 12 minutes a game. Is that where you look to for leadership?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to start with your seniors. They understand the culture of this program. We have a lot of new faces. We have 3 transfers, 4 freshmen, probably more new faces than I've ever had in my 20 years. To me, you can do a lot with coaching in terms of teaching guys about culture, but it's going to be the guys on the team, the returners, who set the temperature. And I'm really relying upon Griffin. I'm really relying upon Kyle, that they're going to acclimate these guys, because when they walk in, we can't become them. They've got to become us. And that happens, I think, through internal leadership on the team. And Griff's a great leader. He's a returning first team all-conference guy for us. Kyle's just a great leader. He's got an infectious personality, and we're gonna need that.
Well, let's talk about the transfers for just a moment. You and I talked just for a minute before we started, but you got DeJuan Pruitt, 6'8", out of Jacksonville. He's going to be a graduate student. He played at Jacksonville. He played 31 games, started 15. I watched some film on him. He's a big dude.
Yeah, DeJuan's got a year left. He brings strength, athleticism, maturity. This is his 5th year. He's a marriage and family counseling major, so that's why he chose Indiana Wesleyan. He wanted to get that degree. He's going to do some neat things when he gets out of here. So, and we needed to bolster our front line. So he's one of the transfers. There's actually a 7'3" kid, Rocco Muratori, but he's coming off an injury. I don't anticipate him playing early on, but eventually I think, he'll find himself adding some value to us. There's another kid named Bright Kari who won't be ready till second semester, and I think he's going to make a big impact. Very versatile defender, but once again, is not playing early on. So, I don't know how good we'll be early on. I think we got a chance to really come together late in the year, which is when you want to be peaking. But it's a lot of pieces, a lot of moving pieces, especially you throw in our freshmen. We're going to need 1 or 2 of those guys to emerge. And so, going into my 20th year, it almost feels like year 1 or 2, because so many, you're not reinventing yourself, but going back to the basics. You're trying to find new ways to teach and finding new things to do. And in some ways, it's exciting, right? It keeps you on your toes. It keeps you just alert and growing as a coach.
I want to ask you about that, but I want to ask you, I have a dumb question first. So Luke Brown, if you go to the Stetson roster, they listed him as being from Carmel. I know he didn't get a high school there, but on your roster, he's listed as Hartford City.
No, in Carmel, he never lived in Carmel. I mean, he's lived at several places, but he finished out at Hartford City. Hartford City is just a little old town, not too far from here. The gym holds about 3,000. I think the town's about 3,500. And his senior year, it was packed, sold out. They'd turn people away all the time.
Well, he had a monster high school career.
He had this unique following. I mean, people from all over would come watch him. He just kind of found himself in the spotlight. Part of it was his game. He's fun to watch, but part of it is just Indiana high school basketball. Yeah. That's what people do around here. They're excited about high school basketball and the kids behind win.
You mentioned Bright Kari. He played over at Antelope Valley, and the book on anybody coming out of Antelope Valley is they'll play really hard and they are really aggressive. He's 6'8". He's got some good size. It looks like you tried to bulk up on the size with these transfers.
Yeah, we ended up with some size. He's very versatile. He's definitely excited about him and getting him in.
I wanted to go back to what you were talking about before, where you're always having to, kind of adjust each year. So much talk about the transfer portal, and there used to be a presumed loyalty at a school. That's kind of broken down. From the outside, it looks like you and every other coach in the country is having to make some shifts to adjust to how you build your program. I guess what I'm trying to ask is it affecting how you build your program?
I mean, it is. On one hand, it is. It's more or less, I think, about the attitude you have about it. I mean, I don't think anybody loves the place and position college, but to complain and to just have a negative, attitude about it's not gonna move anything forward. So we're trying to adapt. We're trying to understand the landscape, but at the same time, remain and double down on who we are as a program and as a culture. And so that's the challenge, right? I don't I don't think all of a sudden we say we're just going to become like everybody else and do what everybody else is, but rather this is who we are. These are the things we value and how we build a championship culture. Now, how do we do that in a new shifting college landscape? I think that's a challenge, but I think if whoever emerges from that has an advantage, as opposed to kind of a lot of what I'm hearing right now is just extreme frustration and negativity. And, I understand being frustrated with it, but that doesn't change. And so we can only control what we can control and do our best with it.
Exactly. Just getting frustrated about it and wanting it to go. I mean, it's just not. I mean, there's certain times when things change and it just seems like coming out. I think the COVID year had a lot to do with it because a lot of guys started moving in their fifth year and it just kind of seemed like it opened up the floodgates. But I think you're right. I think everybody's in a kind of a wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I'm not anybody else, but for us, it's okay. What makes us distinctively different, and how can we double down on that? In a day and age where everybody's copycat and doing the same thing, what makes you unique? If you really believe in that, then that culture becomes your calling card. It's not for everybody. Part of the recruiting process is obviously finding guys who fit, but it's also saying no to guys who don't fit. I think more than ever, you need to be careful in that right now because kids are transferring for all kinds of reasons. And you got to find the ones that are transferring the right reason. For us, that's doubling down on our I Am Third culture and staying true to that.
Let's talk a little bit about the Crossroads. Tough conference. Everybody knows it's arguably the toughest conference in the country. Boy, Grace was a powerhouse last year. Marion just picks up a new head coach, Pat Knight. Huntington with Corey Alford. They're tough. I mean, everybody's up, and then Austin Peters goes. He's just down the road from you now. He's over at Taylor. So
him and I need to go to Ivanhoe's together and get some ice cream.
Exactly. So that's what, 15 minutes from you, Upland?
I could almost throw a baseball to hit that.
Yeah. So just talk about the conference and where it's at, and especially some of your coaching colleagues. It's amazing the coaches up and down that conference.
Yeah, I've always said it. Tremendous respect for all the coaches in the league, but it's a powerhouse because of that, the coaches in this league. And you get a lot of guys that have stayed for a long time. This will be my 20th year, and I'm starting to see some guys that have been around for a long time. The team nobody's talking about, and I'll throw it out there, is Spring Arbor and Ryan Cottingham. They snuck up on everybody and won that national championship.
Yep.
Maybe it was, and he's got another good team, and he's been there longer than me, and he's built something pretty special. The other night I was recruiting, and Corey and I were talking Alford over at Huntington. He's got a team that he really likes, some senior. He got a Marion transfer, he's a fifth-year guy who's been around and understands, the league very well. You could go up and down and just talk about the quality of coaching.
Yeah, I left out your high school teammate, too, Steve Draven.
How about that, man?
Yeah.
Good old Stevie Draven up at Bethel.
It looks like they're going to be pretty good again. The other cool thing about your conference is, I was talking about Austin Peters after he took the job. He came up from the GSAC where every game is an overnight trip. And you guys you can make every trip, go to the game and come home. That is very unique attribute. And I think it's a real advantage for you as a program. It's not as tough on, the kids academically or even physically.
We have no overnight trips, maybe Mount Vernon, but it also, your fans travel with you. When we're going an hour to 30 minutes to Huntington, 45 minutes to St. Francis, we're packing with a lot of fans, and it makes for great environments.
Yeah, talk about your students there. I mean, anytime I watch a game on video there in Lucky Arena, it's just packed out, and the students are just wild. Just talk about the support you get there in Marion and from the students.
Yeah, we have an awesome environment. You talked about we were 18-1 last year at home, and I think a lot of that. I don't know if you heard, but we announced we're building a new arena. It's been something that's been in the works for
No, I hadn't heard that.
a decade. And we announced it's called the I Am Third Arena. We had a significant lead gift. We're out fundraising right now. We're going to break ground this fall, and it'll be one of the most exciting venues, I think, in all of college basketball.
Oh, that's exciting. So when do you envision completion of that?
Most likely in the fall of 27 or potentially start a second semester. So it's about a 18 to 2 year build, and we think we'll start late this fall break.
Anybody who lives anywhere near you guys needs to go and tour that campus at Indiana Wesleyan. It is, I think I've been there twice, but it's just beautiful. It's stunning. The facilities you have there. So you add this basketball arena, it's going to be extra nice, isn't it?
It is. We got our own practice facility for basketball only, our own weight room for basketball only, recovery room, I mean, it's got everything that you would want as a basketball. So we're super.
New team, a lot of newcomers. It's not really a new team, but you got some returners, a lot of newcomers. What are going to be the keys? What are your guys going to have to do to be successful?
Well, I think it's the whole idea of how are we going to come together. There's a lot of moving. The team that we're going to start out with in late October is certainly not going to be the team late January. Some of it's getting guys back from injury. Some of it's just having new faces. But we're really going to rely upon Caven Bontrager. He took another big step this summer.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even talk about him.
No, he led the country in field goal percentage last year.
77%, Coach.
A pretty key stat. And that's all while averaging 14 points. It's not like he averaged. He's got even more athletic and increased his. So, him and Griffin, Luke Brown, we're just relying upon those guys. And if everybody else finds their niche and really buys in, I think this team can continue to get better and have a shot to make a run in March.
Cademan, just sticking with him for a second, he's just a sophomore this year, 6'7" guy out of Fort Wayne. And he's a big body, and he has some room to grow, as they say.
He does. I mean, if you'd see him right now, he gained another, I think, 8 pounds over the summer and lost an additional % body fat. Really hard to do. But he's just locked in right now and has really grown mentally. When that light bulb went off, it watch out.
I want to touch on there's a couple of the guys we didn't touch on. DJ Moore, he can flat light it up. With Noah gone, will he play the point?
Yeah, so DJ was injured most of last year, had a knee issue, and we're starting to see a healthy DJ right now, which is a different side to DJ. He's just our floor general and our leader, one of our captains. We are relying heavily upon his.
So you're going to have a mixture of upperclassmen, some guys you're bringing up. I mean, you have Jackson Gould. He played about 8 minutes a game last year, freshman out of Warsaw. And then Marcus, is it Ankeny out of Greenwood? Ankeny,
yeah.
Ankeny out of Greenwood, Indiana. You mentioned a couple of freshmen. Freshmen, you mean freshmen like right out of high school that you're excited about?
Yeah, we have 4 of them. I couldn't tell you right now who's going to play, but we're going to need 1 or 2 of them to emerge. Isaac Andrews, a kid that's not too far from here, was an Indiana All-Star last year. This is a worker and a shooter, so he's got potential to play right away. There's 2 other kids, Jake Smith out of Lake Central, Peyton Bird out of Greenwood, which we've had a little pipeline to Greenwood. That's where Marcus is from. That's Johnny Marlin. So he's got potential, but, like all freshmen, they're going to go through those growing.
Well, the best thing about a freshman, he's going to be a sophomore.
Well said.
What is it like recruiting back there? I mean, do you show up at Warsaw High School and there's just a line of coaches standing outside the locker room?
Yeah, we see each other a lot. It's funny because Friday night you'll see them, and then you might be playing them the next day.
Yeah.
On the court. And so you get familiar with these kids, within our league. But I think it speaks to the talent in Indiana and how well these kids are coached from the moment they play third grade basketball, they graduate. The kids we get have been taught well, high level of skill.
Before you go, I want to ask you a question that nobody really talks enough about, is the assistant coaches in that league. I mean, you got Jeff Clark there. Obviously, you got Jordan Widener and Stephen Halstead down at Grace. Austin Peters poached from Bethel. Yeah. I think that league has some of the top assistant coaches in the country as well.
Yeah, because you get guys that stick around. Jeff has passed up numerous opportunities to go be a head coach because it feels like his greatest opportunity influence is here. I think that's probably what Jordan Widener's thing as well. His opportunity to influence disciple players. And Luke Cummings over at St. Francis has been there a long time. Same thing. Great leader, great man. You got to have that, right? Like, people look at my record, I'm responsible, right? And I give a guy like Jeff that's been here for 20 years that has done so much this program. Assistant coaches don't get enough credit often. They don't get any of the blame either, but
they really are big contributors, and a lot of times it's not seen from the outside. Well, Greg, I really appreciate you giving me a few minutes. You got to be excited. I'm excited for basketball to start. In this business, it's the long summer, not a long winter, right?
I got a question for you since you've been asking me.
Okay.
Who's the Cascade team nobody's talking about? Who's your dark horse?
Oh, boy.
You can only give me one. I know you want to keep everybody happy. Give me one that's like the sneak. I gave you ours, in Spring Arbor. Who's yours?
I think Southern Oregon.
Okay.
Matt Zozell, he's an excellent recruiter. He has a lot of connections. He just loaded up his roster not too long ago. It looked like they had lost a lot of people, which they had. But they're going to reload and be dangerous. So that's who I would say. I mean, everybody knows College of Idaho is going to be tough. Oregon Tech has everybody coming back. Everybody knows Austin Johnson's going to have a team to be reckoned with. Those are always givens. But I think if you look at the rest of the conference, I think Southern Oregon is one that has a chance. That I might be completely wrong. So
You've never been wrong.
Oh no, I make a profession out of being wrong. But no, it just like in the crossroads, there's teams all up and down the league, obviously, that anybody can make a run. Bushnell, Corbin's picked up quite a few guys this season. I think Evergreen's going to be better this year. Northwest has a bunch of guys back, and they were big last year. Multnomah is still rebuilding. Warner Pack looks like they're going to be a lot better. So that's it. You got another question for me?
No, I'll leave you off the hot.
Coach, I really appreciate you giving me the time. I look forward to the season starting.
Bill, look forward to following you along this year and touching base every so often.
Thanks a lot, Greg. That's Greg Tonagel. He's the head men's basketball coach at Indiana Wesleyan. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Billy.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Also, please like and subscribe this show wherever you watch or listen to it. It helps a lot. And if you have a question you'd like answered on the show, just send me a note at cascadehoopstalk@gmail.com or just shoot me a DM on Twitter. I hope you enjoyed the show. Enjoy your day. We'll see you next time. Yours truly, Billy D. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAI school because NAI basketball is the best entertainment value in America.